Okay, let's go ahead and get started. If anybody comes in late, that's fine. They can join us. Thank you everybody for coming. Like I said, we are going to record this. Everybody can hear me, right? If you can't, you can put something in the chat here or unmute yourself and can let me know. But if not, we'll just go ahead and get started. My name is Stacy Pfeiffer. I'm the director of the Enable Savings Plan. And again, thank you everybody for coming today and learning more about Enable. We are recording this today on the 29th of May, and so this is up-to-date information as of today. So I always like to make sure that we're keeping everything as up-to-date as possible. So like I said, I'm the director of the Enable Savings Plan. In December of 2014, the Achieving a Better Life Experience, which is what ABLE stands for, Act was signed into law, authorizing individuals with disabilities to open tax-exempt savings accounts and to save for disability-related expenses without it impacting their eligibility for resource-based benefits. The Act permits individuals to save more than a total of the $2,000 in assets in their name in a qualified ABLE account. And so ABLE is kind of the name of the overreaching national plan. So sometimes you might hear me refer to it as ABLE, and sometimes I'll refer to it as Enable. Enable is the name of Nebraska's plan. Nebraska is a nationwide plan. Each state has their own plan. There's a few states that don't have one as of today. And we try to offer the plan for those states who don't have one to look at. But our plan is Enable. And we started in, the law was passed in May of 2015. So this month. And so impact to benefits. So as far as Social Security is concerned, I'm sure most of you are aware that you have that $2,000 benefit limit that you can save. And with the Enable account, you can actually have up to $100,000. So it is quite the difference. HUD is to disregard any amounts that are in the Enable account. There is an exception to that. So if you have a housing expense, you do need to spend that in the same month that you pull it out of your ABLE account. So like, for example, rent is usually due around the 1st. So you don't want to pull it out on the 30th and then pay your rent on the 1st, because that's going to be over the calendar month. And then that could be construed as income for Social Security resources. So you do want to watch that and make sure you're paying in the same month. But that's kind of the one weird rule. But any earnings or qualified withdrawals from the accounts are not considered income to the account owner as far as Social Security resources are concerned. And as far as Medicaid benefits, Medicaid excludes anything in the Enable account as a resource. So a lot of times they want to know that you have an Enable account, but they don't necessarily need to know the balance, because it doesn't really matter as far as Medicaid is concerned. Sometimes they still ask. Just wanted to make you aware of that. And wages are subject to Medicaid guidelines. So it is important to note that ABLE accounts are asset protectors, not income protectors, right? So a lot of the benefits have asset guidelines, but they also have income guidelines. So you will still need to make sure you're watching those income guidelines. But they do protect your assets. All right, so who is eligible? An eligible individual is someone of any age that has the disability onset prior to the age of 26. So you don't have to be younger than 26 to open the account. I've got a 1-month-old account owner, and I have a 89-year-old account owner. So and all the ages in between. So you can be at any age to open it. You just have to have the disability onset before the age of 26. And starting in 2026, that's going to go up to 46 years old. So we're super excited for that. And for all the people that it's going to open that up to, we estimate about 8 million people nationwide that will be able to take advantage of this plan on top of the people who already can take advantage. So that's one of the things that can make you eligible is your age, the age of the onset of the disability. The other thing is you would need to have a marked or severe functional limitation that's expected to be long lasting, so over longer than 12 months for our purposes. So you can be receiving Social Security or disability, but you don't have to be. So some people will open these for their children and maybe they're not necessarily receiving Social Security or disability yet. But there are other benefits to having the ABLE account. It can grow tax-free as long as you're spending it on qualified disability expenses. There are other tax benefits in Nebraska when you put money into the Enable account. Also, that we'll get into that in a little bit later. And also, you know, just because they're not on benefits now doesn't mean they're not going to be in the future. I've talked to parents who didn't open one of these, and then they get to transition time and suddenly they have all this money in an outside account and they have to try to hurry up and spend it down or hurry up and shuffle it somewhere. If you've already got it in the ABLE account, already growing tax-free, already working for you, then you don't have to worry about those things. So yeah, so there, you know, there's a few good reasons why you'd still want to utilize the Enable account. Now, if you're not on Social Security or disability, then we would just want that certification from a physician. You don't even actually have to give it to us. We just recommend that you keep it on file because we might ask for it at some point, you know, if we're like randomly verifying people kind of as a fraud protection. But you self-certify when you're filling out the enrollment. So there's a box that you check that says, yep, I meet all these requirements and I can enroll in this. Okay, next one, the account owner. So the person who has the disability is the account owner, the person that's eligible for the account. So that is an important thing to note. It works a little bit different than like college savings accounts, for example. And those, the person who opens the account is the owner, right? That's not always going to be the person with the ABLE accounts. A lot of times there are other people that are managing and opening those accounts for them. And so, so that is an important difference to know. Okay. Anybody who has an ABLE account can only have one ABLE account nationwide. So I talked earlier about how there are different plans in different states. So across all those plans, you can only have one ABLE account. Now, let's say you moved out of Nebraska and you moved like to Iowa. You can roll your account over into Iowa's ABLE account. Some people would still keep it with Nebraska. For example, maybe the parents are putting money into that ABLE account and their child moved to Iowa, and they want to continue to take advantage of the tax incentive that Nebraska has, or maybe they just like Nebraska's plan better. There are, you know, a few differences between the different plans. So that's totally up to the person who is managing the account. We always do recommend that people check their home state first because there are different advantages for the people in their home states. So we always recommend that first, but you are more than welcome to join any national plan that you want, whatever works best for your situation. These plans are put in place to help people. And so, you know, there's a lot less states competing with each other, right? Because we all have a common goal. We want to help you to save money and not lose benefits. So all the plans should be super easy to work with as far as if you wanted to roll one over. All right, so this has been a change in the last about year and a half. So some of you who maybe had previous knowledge of ABLE accounts might not know about this. So it used to be that you had to be a power of attorney or a guardian to be able to be the authorized individual on the account. And what an authorized individual would be a person who is opening and managing the account on someone's behalf if they're an adult and they're not able to manage that account on their own. Now, anyone on this list can manage the account. So power of attorney and conservator or legal guardian are still on there, and they're at the top of the list. But we've also got spouse, parent, sibling, grandparent, and rep payee. And what this does is it just makes it a lot easier to be able to manage an individual's account, right? You don't have to go get guardianship if that individual doesn't need guardianship. And we're just trying to make it a lot easier. We're kind of along the same thinking of allowing individuals with disabilities to be able to make their own decisions, not have to go the guardianship route. This kind of falls into that. So we are very happy with this change. It is important to note that this is a hierarchical list. So the rep payee, which is at the bottom of the list, would need to check with everyone above them to make sure that it's okay for them to manage the account. A grandparent would need to check with everybody above them. So that is an important thing to note. If you are further down the list, and that is a reason why, like, say you're a parent and you're a guardian, I always advise people to check whichever one is the highest on the list, since it's hierarchical. So, and again, this is self-certifying. So previously, people had to send in all kinds of paperwork, and you had to fill out a paper form and mail it in. That is no more, because you're self-certifying. Again, it's a checkbox that you check on the account, and that allows you to set up the account online. It makes it much easier, much faster. So this was a great change as far as ease of opening ABLE accounts for Nebraska. So we're very happy about this. Tax benefits. So I talked a little bit about this. Like I said, earnings are tax deferred while in the account and tax free as long as you use them for qualified disability expenses. And then anybody who contributes into an ABLE account and files a Nebraska income tax return is eligible for a state income tax deduction up to $10,000 and $5,000 if you're married filing separately. So that's a great benefit for Nebraskans. And this is for anybody who puts money into the ABLE account. So it's not just the parents, it's not just the account owner. If somebody wanted to gift an account owner money, we have a gifting platform and they could put the money in there and deduct that on their taxes. So so this is really a great incentive for people to be able to put money into that account. Okay, so this is one of the biggest questions I get. Okay, I've put money in, now what? What can I spend this on? So the qualified disability expenses, these are general categories that are listed here, right? So we've got education, transportation, housing, employment and training support, assistive technology and related services, personal support services, financial management and administrative services, legal fees and expenses for oversight and monitoring, end-of-life expenses, health prevention and wellness, and anything that enhances the account owner's quality of life. So it is important to note that ABLE accounts fall under IRS regulations, not under Health and Human Service regulations, right? So kind of have your like IRS hat on when you're thinking about qualified disability expenses. So you want to be able to attach it to one of these categories, and you want to make sure that you're saving some sort of documentation to show how the money was spent. So if the IRS were to come back and audit at some point, then you would have that information for them. So like some people use it to pay rent. I know there's situations where like children are living in their parents' house and they've got that court order where they pay rent to their parents. So you have that as your paperwork, right? And then you can kind of show, yep, this is the amount in our paperwork, and this is where we paid the rent, as an example, right? Because obviously you don't always have a receipt for that when your child is paying you for those things, but you should have a paper trail of that. So quality of life, go into that, right? So that can encompass a lot of things. A lot of people will save for vacations in these. So that is one thing. Some examples of things maybe you couldn't spend it on. Gambling might be a good example of something maybe that might not be the best for you. There are some things that it really depends on the nuances, right? So one example I like to give let's say the account owner has a nephew and he turned 4 and he wants to go to his birthday party and bring him a gift, right? Everybody else is bringing a gift. You want to go get like a $20 gift and bring it to the party so you don't feel like left out, or like you are not, like you don't care about your nephew or something like that, right? So that goes to their quality of life. Now, when that nephew turns 16, buying that nephew a car that's probably not a qualified disability expense, right? So just to kind of give you an idea of things, of the nuances of it, and what might qualify versus what might not qualify. Even the gambling example, if you were going on vacation to Vegas and maybe you wanted to put a couple dollars in a slot machine, right? That's kind of like more of like an experience with that vacation. Or like if you're have a friend getting married and you go on their bachelor party and they go to the casino or whatever for one day, right? That's kind of part of that experience and part of that quality of life. So I hope that helps kind of understand how qualified disability expenses work. Okay, and this is the other really big question I get. What happens when the account owner passes away? So it is, first of all, it's really important to remember that end of life expenses are covered by ABLE accounts. So you want to make sure any expenses that you have, all the bills, that those are all getting paid out of this account, and that you kind of spent, all the money that you need to spend, because they are tax free, right? When you are spending them out of your ABLE account. So you want to make sure you're paying all of those, first of all. And then if there's a balance left, that can be transferred to another ABLE account. It could be rolled over to, if you had a family member's account, and adoptive children do count as family members for these purposes. So now, if you rolled it over into somebody who you're not related to, there could be some tax implications to that, right? Just like any probate, when you're leaving money to someone, there's tax implications, and that kind of information would be best to get from a probate attorney on exactly what those would be. But it'd be similar to any person's situation. And so again, it could be rolled over. Now it could also pay out to an estate, right? A lot of people worry about Medicaid taking the money, but in Nebraska in 2020, the state of Nebraska passed a law saying that Nebraska Medicaid would not be clawing back money left in the account to pay back Medicaid expenses. So that was a great win for ABLE accounts in Nebraska. Of course, I mentioned we're a nationwide plan. We have to follow whatever the law is in whatever state the person resides. So some states have passed this law, some have not. You'd have to, look those up. We do have a website called Able Today. It's abletoday.org, and you can go there. There's tons of great webinars. I've helped with some of them that we've done with like Social Security and with some other large national groups on there to kind of help you understand things better. There's some ASL resources on there, which is American Sign Language. There are some resources in Spanish on there, and there's also a statewide map that kind of has summaries of all the ABLE plans on there. So lots of great things on that website. Highly recommend people going there. There's great resources for employers. If your children are, or if any of you are working or children are working, we would love, and I would love to work with them here in Nebraska, work with any employers and explain to them the benefit of ABLE accounts and how it could possibly allow their employee to work more if they're worried about having too much money in their bank account, right? They could put it in the ABLE account instead. How employers could offer it as a benefit to their employees. They could do matching or something to that effect. So lots of great things where employers can come in to the mix with ABLE accounts. Also, I think gave the final okay today. So it's not on the website today, but it probably will be tomorrow. A couple, let me see, like 2 years ago now, we passed a law also in Nebraska that if the balance is less than $5,000, then that could pay out directly to a named beneficiary. And so our enrollment forms, like I said, they'll hopefully tomorrow. It'll be updated online. So you can go and look at our newest edition of our enrollment forms. There will be a spot on there where you can put a named beneficiary. We are still working on a form where we can like add the beneficiary if you already have an account. And once we have that all finished up, we're gonna do kind of an email blast out to everybody like, hey, you can come here and add a beneficiary if you'd like. And so the balance would need to be $5,000 or less when the account owner passes away. And basically we're just trying to help people to not have to pay attorney fees to get their money out of their able, get like $500 out of their able account, right? So to get it moved over to probate, and just kind of, you know, help make things a little easier and make things make sense, right? So that was kind of the idea behind that. So that's a really new change, and I'm really excited that we've got that up and going here, or we will tomorrow. And you can come back and check that out. Let's see. Okay, so fees on the able accounts. Currently, the fees are $45 a year, which come out to $11.25 per quarter. They're assessed quarterly, and they would just pull that out of the balance in the able account. And then we've got asset-based fees that are 0 up to 45 basis points, depending on which ones you're choosing. And there's no other fees, no enrollment fees, no investment changes, transfers. If you have the checking account, there's kind of some of those regular checking account fees, like for bounce checks and stuff like that. But mostly just these fees here. And I will tell you, there are going to be some changes coming in the future with these fees. If you have not yet enrolled in an Enable account, I would encourage you to receive your information electronically, because that's going to help lower the fees a little bit. So I will say that we're getting really close to getting that all made public and finalized. But or if you already have an account, I would encourage you to go and switch to electronic receiving of information. Contributions are easy. So it does take $50 to open an Enable account. If you sign up for automated payments or a payroll deduction, then you can start with $25. And then contributions after that need to be $25, again, unless you've got that automated or a payroll deduction. Anybody can contribute to an Enable account, and there's lots of ways you can do it. You can mail in checks, you can mail in, you know, money orders, checks, you can do wire transfer, you can do an electronic funds transfer. There's a spot where you can put bank information in, and those can be either one time or the automated ones. This year, the annual contribution limit is $18,000. So even though you can have $100,000, I'm going to throw a few numbers here at you real quick. So you can have up to $100,000 in the account before it affects Social Security, but you can only put in $18,000 per year. And if Social Security is not a factor for you, you can actually have up to $500,000 in the ABLE account before we wouldn't let you put any more money in. It could still continue to grow, so it could go over $500,000, but we just wouldn't let anybody put any new money into there. So hopefully that all makes sense there. I know sometimes all those numbers can be kind of confusing, but $18,000 is the annual limit, and that's from all sources. So gifting, payroll, the account owner putting money in, all of those things are capped at 18. Now, if the individual is working and not contributing to an employer-sponsored retirement fund, then they can actually save more than the $18,000. And it's the amount they made the year before, or I think it's like $15,590 or something like that. It's kind of an oddball number. And so it almost doubles what you can save if you're working. So that, again, another way to encourage people to work. And yeah. Okay. So like I said, there is a gifting platform, and so UGift is the name of that gifting platform, and you can find your UGift code by logging into your account at enablesavings.com. And then there'll be a button on the left-hand side that'll say view and invite savings with UGift. It's kind of in a menu on the left. And click that. It'll take you to the UGift page and it'll give you your code. And it's a 6-digit alphanumeric code. So once you have that code, you can share that with family and friends. You can share it on social media, and they can take the code and they can go to ugiftable.com, put in that code, put in their name and the amount of money they want to give, and then they can pay right there electronically, or they can mail in a check. Super easy, super fast, great way for people to gift. And I also did some work with the Department of Revenue in Nebraska where you don't have to use the person's account number to claim the tax deduction. You could also use the UGift code. So kind of added a level of security to people's Enable accounts. So once you share this UGift code, just tell them, hey, save that and save the amount of money that you paid. And so when you file your taxes, then you can fill in the blanks with those 2 pieces of information. So really great and easy way for people to give. And then you don't have to worry about it counting as income because it went into like their bank account or whatever. If it goes directly into the Able account, somebody's giving a gift, that does not count as income. So important thing to remember there. Now, I do want to, let me see if I can figure out how to do this here. Show you something else that I'm working on that we're actually very, very close to launching. I'm doing some final testing right now. So if anybody wants to help me test, they can shoot me a message in the chat, or I'll have my email at the end and they can shoot me an email. Because I would love, I'll just put my actually email in the chat right now so you guys will have it. If I can spell Nebraska. All right, so I put my email in the chat. If anybody wants to help to test this, let me know. Like I said, I would love to have you test it. I'm gonna switch my screen here. Can you guys see? You guys see a website? This Give to Enable.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So what this is like a crowdfunding page, right? So if you think of GoFundMe, that would be what this is. And so we're developing this to work alongside of Able accounts, right? So you take that gifting code that I just talked about, and you would come here and you would register and make an account. Now, if you have an Able account, you have to make another account here, right? So you'd come in, put in your information. If you had a goal of an amount of money that you were trying to raise, you can put it in there. You put your UGift code in here, and then we've got a little spot where you can tell about yourself. Once you have an account made, you can upload a picture of yourself, or if you're like trying to raise money for a wheelchair, let's say, you could put a picture of a wheelchair on there if you wanted. And then you'd come down here and you'd hit sign up, and then that'll shoot an email to me, and I just kind of double check and make sure everything looks kosher, that we're staying within our $18,000 annual limit and kind of all those good things. And then I'll approve it, and then it'll go onto the website, and we're going to market this out to all Nebraskans because, like I said earlier, everyone that files a Nebraska tax return can deduct any contributions to an Enable account on their taxes. And so you'll be able to come here and look at a person and sorry, it's thinking here. Okay, and so here's my UGift code. So I take that and then I can go to the ugiftable.com website and maybe there it goes. And then right here's where you put that code in, and then it would take you and where you put in your name and all that stuff. And then it would go directly into the account owner's Able account. And that's it, easy peasy. So very excited for that and to get that rolled out. So we're going to send some information to all account owners July 1st to come here and make accounts. Like I said, if anybody wants to test it in the meantime, be my guinea pig. I would love that. And then we're going to have a big, exciting rollout in August at the Capitol and let everybody know. And of course, I'll talk about it when I'm talking about able accounts all over the state. So really excited for that as a way, you know, I recognize that not everybody has tons of money to put into these accounts always, or a lot of disposable to save for later. So, but also it costs 28% more for an individual with a disability to live on average. So this can be a way to kind of bridge that gap and help those who maybe don't have that extra money to save to be able to get things that they need. So like I said, very, very excited for that. I've been working on that for quite some time, and I am really excited to get that going. Okay, so now let me see if I can switch back my screen here. Okay. So that. All right, and then we've kind of talked a lot about how flexible it can be. You can use it in any state. Anyone can contribute. We talked about the gifting and all the qualified disability expenses that it can be spent on, how money can be moved around if needed, and you can withdraw it at any time. So, you know, if you used it for something that wasn't a qualified disability expense, there could be like extra taxes that you might have to pay for taking those funds out for something that was not a qualified disability expense. But it is available to you at any time. So, all right, investment options. So we here in Nebraska with the ABLE plan have 5 different investment options. So the first 3 are the target risk options. They're like, you know, stocks, bonds, that sort of thing. And we have a conservative, a moderate, and a growth option. I am not a financial advisor, and so this stuff is, you know, like Latin to me. But if you really want to study more on this, you can go to our website and we have more information. We also have a program disclosure statement on our website, and that has more information about what makes up these investments. They are ran by Vanguard Mutual Funds. So if you're familiar with them, it's a great company. And yeah, you know, if you have a financial advisor, you could take this and have them look at it. Now, it is important to note that investments are not FDIC insured. And while they can earn money, they can also lose money. So that is an important thing to note with those. These are better kind of for more long-term savings, right? If you have a child that you're trying to save up for when they're older, or maybe if you want to use this like a retirement plan or things like that, right? Long-term savings, these are good for. We also have 2 more short-term savings options, and these are both FDIC insured. So one of them is a savings account. I did a lot of work last summer and switched banks, and so now the savings account's currently earning about 4.6%, I think, interest. So it's pretty good. And then we also have a checking account, and that comes with a debit card. So I know previously there were some issues with if a guardian was managing the account, they weren't able to use the debit cards. We've worked through a lot of those issues. So if you heard that previously and you are a guardian, you could switch now to the checking account if you wanted to. So, okay. And so when you're picking investments, like I said, we've got 5 different options. You could pick, put a little into all 5 if you really wanted to. These boxes, you can put whatever number you want as long as it adds up to 100%. And if you had money coming from payroll or from a gift, any money that comes in is going to be split the way that it's chosen here. Okay. Now, some people get really nervous at this point, right? They don't know a lot about investing. They're not sure where to put it. It is important to note that you can change these at any time. They can be changed up to 2 times per calendar year. So, so if you put it into, let's say, the savings option because that feels safe to you, right? And then later on, you speak with a financial advisor or you've done some of your own research and you say, oh, I think I want to put it in the growth option instead. You can do that up to 2 times per year. You can also move a large chunk of money from one of these to the other. You can also set up where maybe all the money goes into the growth option, but you have $50 a month going into the checking account option. There's lots of ways that you can set up how this money works in between all the different investments. Also important to note, you don't have to have the checking account to be able to spend it, right? You can get money out of the growth option just as easily as you could out of the savings account. You know, the checking account might be a little easier because it has a debit card attached, right? But there's just, you would just log onto the website, onto your account. There's a form there. You can say, pay $500 to the electric company. I hope your electric bill's not $500, but you get my drift. And they can pay it directly to that third party. They could electronically put it into a bank account that you have on file. They could also mail you a check directly. So any of those options, even in the long-term options, the money's not stuck in there. It is still completely accessible. So anyway, so that's that. So don't feel nervous about this part. You can always go back and change it. All right, so you know, if you are ready to enroll, we do always encourage people to read the program disclosure statement. That's on our website. Should be a button right on the front page there where you can go and access that. Just because that gives you all the rules and all the regulations and everything there. We keep really up to date, so you know exactly how the plan is working. And then you can either open it online or via paper. And then it's basically just, you know, all the kind of basic information that you'd put on opening an account, right? The social security number, date of birth, address. If there was an authorized individual, you'd have to put all that information for them. And then you can pick the investment options, which we just talked about. There is, under the authorized individual, there's also a spot to put a interested party. So let's say we have 2 parents, right? And one of the parents becomes the authorized individual. You could have the other one as an interested party on there. They wouldn't be able to like move money around or make changes or anything like that, but they could call and get certain information about the account. So, or let's say you have like a guardian who maybe needs to get a report or something, like they could be an interested party, right? So that's kind of some examples of people you might want to have on there as an interested party. But again, they couldn't make any changes to the account. They could only get certain information. Also, when you're filling this out online, I do always, you know, tell people to at least look at the paper form just so you have an idea of all the information you need and you can kind of gather everything together so that you don't get stuck when you're filling out the online one and have to get time out and start over or whatever. I know that can be frustrating. So that, you know, looking at that and kind of having everything together before you start is a good way to be successful and get it through it quickly. But okay, but then you pick your investment options. How you're going to get the money into the account will be your funding method. Delivery options is what I spoke about earlier. You can receive all your information either electronically through email or mailed. Like I said, getting it on email is going to save you a few dollars in the near future here. Also important to note, most of the things that are sent to you, you can also access on the website and on your account, right? You can check your account balance. The newsletters and stuff that we mail out are on our website. So all totally accessible. And then you would review everything and submit. And our website is enablesavings.com. We also have a Facebook page, and I try to, put information on there about things that are happening with the plan, where I'm at talking about Enable, or I go to a lot of events and have a table if people have questions or maybe need help signing up. I try to bring some enrollment forms with me everywhere I go. And we also have a customer service number. The customer service is great at helping with lots of things. Of course, if you ever feel like you're getting stuck with customer service, you can feel free to email me. I'm always happy to help people as well. And again, I've got my email in the chat there. Um, and we are part of the um, uh, Nebraska State Treasurer's Office, and so we have the trust where all the money is held, so it's safe. We're the trustee and the program manager, and the Nebraska Investment Council oversees our investments. And there's all the fund disclosures that my lawyer makes me put up. So, and that's just telling you that you can lose money if things aren't in the non-FDIC insured investments, and that this is educational and all that good stuff. So anyway, does anybody have any questions? You can type it in the chat if you have a question, or you can unmute yourself and ask. Unless I just did such an amazing job explaining that nobody has any questions. Do any of you have ABLE accounts or want to share your experience with the ABLE account? Yeah, so great question, Ben. So I am going to, once we're done here, I'm gonna wrap up the recording, and then I will post it. I have a YouTube channel, so I'm gonna post it on there. But I can also share it onto our Facebook page. I'll put it on the DSAF Facebook page, and then you should be able to share it there. It'll just be a link to that YouTube page. So yeah, you should be able to easily share the information. All right, well, guys, thank you so much for coming. If nobody has any questions, I'm just gonna stop the recording here.